Hello, I am Rebecca Asifiwe, working on Contribute to Society project of Government IU, and I have to do a straight interview video to show what average Americans know about how the US government operates, and after that I will correct any misconceptions that they have.
Hi, hello. Today is 15th March 2018, and my name is Rebecca Asifiwe. I'm a student in the Bachelor of Arts program with College for America at New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in a form of video. I'm working for a Contribute to the Society Growth project, and the information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and College for America staff will have access to. Do you have any questions?
No.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yes.
So if you agree, so you have to read this consent.
I, Cynthia Bishime, give my informed consent to participate in this interview, to be recorded and used as part of the student academic work.
Thank you. So I'll ask you, what the three branches of the government?
So the government has the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch.
And what does each branch do?
So, if I remember well, the executive branch is in charge of making laws, enforcing laws, and the judiciary branch helps in the implementation. So the legislative
So there are Democrats and Republicans major parties. So do you know a third one?
Yeah.
And so what's the basic process by which bills become the law?
Yeah, thank you. The process of a bill becoming the law starts in the Congress or in the legislative branch, where it is voted by different members as a bill, and it's sent to the executive branch. And if the president and his committee accept the bill, the law, the vote, then it becomes a law. If they don't, it becomes a veto. And the judicial branch helps in the implementation of the law in the citizen when it's approved.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Hi. I am today is 16th March 2018, and I'm Rebecca Asifiwe, a student in Bachelor of Arts program with College for America at New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as a part of my academic work. And with your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in Government and You project. And then the information will be used to create a straight interview video and submitted to College for America so that my project can be evaluated. And the recording will be used only for this purpose. And the interview information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and College for America staff will have access. Do you have any questions? So, do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded? And can you read this? Hi, Dr. Umawano, with my informed consent to participate in this interview, to be recorded and used as part of the student's academic work. Thank you. So, do you know the three branches of the government?
Yes.
Can you tell me what each branch does? I don't know. And Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. So do you know a first branch? The problem is and what's the basic process by which a bill becomes a law? I'm not sure that I think that a bill becomes a law for the confirmation of the system. So that's all you know. Thank you for your time.
So from the interviews, I asked two interviewees to tell me what they know about the U.S. government operations. And then one said that she knows the three branches of the government, which are the legislative, executive, and judiciary branch. And another one said the same. And then they say that the legislative branch makes laws, and the judiciary branch is concerned about courts. And then one of them said she doesn't know what the executive branch does, and another one said that the executive branch has to enforce laws that were made by the legislative branch. So mainly the three branches of the government are the legislative branch, or the Congress, and the executive branch, or the presidency, and also the Supreme Court, which is also called the judiciary branch. So the executive branch is made of the president and other workers, and its role is to enforce laws, of course. And then the legislative branch has to make laws, and these are the laws I say that they get enforced by the executive branch. And also the judiciary branch, its role is to judge people, or in other words, it's concerned with courts, and it's made of Supreme Court and other lower courts. So these are the main three branches and what they do. And then these three branches are all connected in a way that they impact one another through their operations, and then they are connected through what's called checks and balances. So in these checks and balances is a way that they regulate each other. So the first three articles of the Constitution are the ones which establish the branches of the government with specific powers. So the executive branch is headed by the president, and legislative is the Congress, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. So each branch can check on other branches' actions or balance the actions with their own actions. So this is in a way that, as I said before, the legislative branch makes laws, then the executive branch enforces the laws, and then the judiciary branch can like see if the laws are being applied as they should be followed. So briefly, how the branches regulate each other. So the legislative branch creates laws, and then the president may sign a law to confirm that it's becoming a law, or if it doesn't become a law, it's a veto. And this, because the president heads the executive branch, then that's how the legislative branch and executive branch are connected. And then the courts may find some laws unconstitutional, and that's on the part of judiciary branch. The legislative branch also execute laws and then interpret them, and it can also nominate officials and prepare budgets. And then about this, the executive branch can nominate federal judges, and then on the part of budgets, the president must sign a budget like other laws. And then the judiciary branch can find some actions unauthorized and decides that those actions will not be put in practice. So briefly, that's how the main branches of the government regulate each other through checks and balances. Another question is that Democrats and Republicans are the major parties, and then I had to ask the interviewees to name a third party. Then one said that she doesn't know about that. Another one said that a third party could be a green family. So briefly, a third party means that a party that's not one of the two major parties in the U.S. government, and those two major parties are Democrats and Republicans. Then the third party is also called a minor party. So some of these third parties are the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, Peace and Freedom Party, to name but few. And then the party system started during the elections of 1976, where political candidates at the local, state, and national level began to operate as members of organized political parties that opposed political principles. So these two parties were adopting names that reflected their values. So the Federalists were thought of themselves as they were favoring, they just took the name because they thought they favored the Constitution and supported it. And then there was another opposition party that adopted the name of Democratic and Republicans, and then this is the major party that I talked about before. And then they also suggested that we're fully committed to extending the revolution to ordinary people. So this supported the supporters of these Democratic and Republicans were from different segments of American society and included farmers and some other people. But then mainly the supporters of this party were more diverse. And then the Federalists were only wealthier in people, and they had more prestige. So that's how the two-party system began. And then the third parties or minor parties have some kind of impact on national politics because they exert influence by focusing the election on particular issues and taking votes away from major candidates. So they try to focus on one specific issue during the elections, and one specific issue opposed to what the major parties are talking about, and then they try to steal votes from candidates from the major parties. So another question was the basic process by which a bill becomes a law. So one of the interviews said that she doesn't know about that, and but she thought that if a president signs for a bill to become a law, then it becomes a law. Another one said that it has to go through some groups of people, then they debate on it, and then they send it to the executive branch, like to the president, and then if he signs that it's a law, it becomes a law. If he refuses to sign that it's a law, it becomes a veto. So the process under which the bill becomes a law is like this. A bill normally begins as ideas, and these ideas can come from representatives or citizens. And then they discuss about it, and then if they agree on, like if the representative agrees on that idea, then they research ideas and then they write them down. So after that, a representative gets a written bill, and then they have to propose it. And then for that, the bill needs a sponsor, and the role of this sponsor is to support that bill. So the representative talks with other representatives about the bill, like to try to see if the bill has hopes to become a law. And then once they also have a sponsor who joins them and gives support for the bill, then the bill is ready to be introduced. And then afterwards, they have to introduce the bill by placing that written version of the bill in a special box on the side of the clerk's desk in the court. And then only representatives are the ones who can introduce bills in the US House of Representatives. So when a written bill gets placed in that special box in the US House of Representatives, then a bill clerk will assign it a number, and then the bill is ready to go to the committee. So the committee members or groups of representatives who are experts on different topics have to review, research, and revise the bill before voting on whether to send the bill or to refuse it. So if the committee members need more information before deciding if the bill should be sent to the House floor, then the bill has to be sent to a subcommittee where it's closely examined by experts, and then they gather enough opinions before they approve to that bill. After getting enough information, and then the bill has to be reported to the House floor. And then afterwards, when it's there, it's ready to be debated by the US House of Representatives. So they debate on it, they explain reasons why they agree or disagree with it, and then the clerk has to take notes of everything that they discuss about. And then after gathering all the points from different sides, the bill is ready to be voted on. So the process to vote the bill is for one way is for the Speaker of the House to ask the representatives to support the bill, to say A or yes, and those that oppose it have to say no. And then he can also ask people who agree, who support the bill, to stand up and get counted, and then on the other side of those who do not agree with the bill, and then they count numbers of those who are agreeing with the bill and those who disagree with the bill, and then they record the numbers using a certain electronic voting system. And then there could be a part of people who vote for yes and others for no, and others who do not want to vote at all. So the bill is afterwards referred to the Senate, and it goes through many of the same steps it went through in the US House of Representatives. So the Senate committee have to discuss about that bill, then they report to the Senate floor to be voted on. And then they go through the same voting process. And then after all those stages, the bill has to be sent to the president. So when a bill reaches to the president, he has only three choices. He can sign and pass the bill, and it automatically becomes a law. Or he can refuse to sign the bill, or veto it, where it becomes a veto, and then it has to be sent back to the US House of Representatives, giving also the reasons why he chose for the bill to become a veto. So if the US House of Representatives and the US Senate are still willing to still believe that the bill should become a law, they can hold another vote on the bill. And if the votes are 2/3 of the whole group of people, then the president's veto is then overridden or overcome, and then he has to let the bill become a law. Or again, the president can decide to do nothing. If the Congress is in session, the bill automatically becomes a law after 10 days. And then if the Congress is not in session, when the president does nothing about that bill, then the bill does not become a law. So briefly, that's all about the US, how the US government operates. Thank you for your attention.